Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm Bruce Moore, the Little Rock City Manager. I want to thank Mayor Scott for being here, and the city staff team, and of course the press team that are here today. Let me first introduce the 5 of the 9 that we have today. Minnie Jean Brown Trickey, Elizabeth Eckford, Thelma Muttershed Ware, Dr. Terrence Roberts, and Carlotta Walls Lanier. So welcome again back home.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Dean of the Clinton School, Dean Soto, to the podium for an announcement.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you to the City of Little Rock, and most importantly, thank you to the Little Rock 9 for your courage and your leadership legacy. My name is Victoria DiFrancesco Soto, and I am the Dean of the Clinton School of Public Service. It is an honor that the only Little Rock 9 scholarship in the country is housed at our institution. The scholarship was established in 2013 to support Clinton School students who have created impact in Arkansas and across the nation. It was established by Dean Emeritus Skip Rutherford and the Little Rock 9 Foundation. It has gone on to provide financial support for a number of students, and we want to ensure that that support continues. One recipient, Lydia Grape, is a returned Peace Corps volunteer who completed 2 field service projects with the U.S. State Department and is now at the Obama Foundation with the Voyager Scholarship Program. I want to take just one moment to read what Lydia reflected on when asked about her Little Rock 9 scholarship. Being a Little Rock 9 Foundation scholarship recipient is an honor. In addition to providing much needed financial support for my studies, the scholarship is a powerful reminder of the doors that are open to me because of the legacies of Melba Patillo Beals, Elizabeth Eckford, Ernest Green, Gloria Ray Karlmark, Carlotta Walls Lanier, Terrence Roberts, Minnie Jean Brown Trickey, Thelma Muttershed Ware, and the late Jefferson Thomas. Another one of our most recent graduates, Demetrius Jordan, overcame homelessness as an undergraduate and is proud to uplift and document his story of resilience, and he is now serving as an Arkansas Program Fellow at the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation. These students personify the power of a public service education. And today, on the 66th anniversary of the Little Rock 9's desegregation of Little Rock Central High, the Clinton School is proud to launch an endowment for the Little Rock 9 scholarship, ensuring that the courageous group's legacy continues into perpetuity. This endowment campaign will ensure that students like Lydia, Demetrius, and many others will continue to have impact. Thank you, and now it is my honor to introduce Ms. Carlotta Walls Lanier to say a few words about this initiative.
Thank you very much, Dean Soto. This is quite an honor for all of us, something that we had been working on over the years. As you stated, we started in 2013 in turning over the last amount of our scholarship funding to the Clinton School of Public Service. We started our scholarship at the 40th anniversary. And at that time, it was just $1,000 for 2 students finishing Little Rock Central High School to go on to higher education. Since then, we were able to provide more based on the 50th anniversary that was held here. And we gave out 9 $10,000 scholarships at that time. And it continued to grow during that, from the 50th anniversary on until that 2013. As you know, the economy was very slow in our country during that time, and people weren't giving as much. In the meantime, we decided that those that were graduate students at the Clinton School of Public Service would be the proper place to give the last $25,000 out of our fund. And so that is when we contacted Dean Skip Rutherford, who was very receptive to receiving it. And the reason happens to be is that we wanted to leave something here in Little Rock, number one. Number two, we recognize that those who are getting postgraduate degrees have a lot of other concerns. They have families. They have to travel. They have to continue to work and so forth. And we thought that maybe this would assist them in getting that postgraduate degree. And I really feel good about the fact that it is here, that we are helping those to spread the word regarding public service, regarding justice, social justice throughout the country, climate control, all of those things that we talk about on a daily basis. The Clinton School of Public Service is addressing that. And some of those young people and older people who are getting postgraduate degrees are spending time doing that sort of thing. So again, we thank the school for taking it to the next level. And as I had said to the dean, from now on, whatever checks that comes to the Little Rock Scholarship Fund, I will then send a letter back to them and ask them to write that check out to the Clinton School of Public Service and put in the memo the Little Rock 9 Scholarship Fund. So each and every one of you here in the room, if you would like to give, you can start today. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Dean. And before I open it up to the media, I'm going to ask Mayor Scott to come up and say a few words.
I'm going to be very brief. We stand here today in awe of these 9 young teenagers who stood in the gap for us all in a time of uncertainty to ensure that we have certainty and equal education. And on behalf of the City of Little Rock, we continue to share our appreciation. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up now for Q&A with Little Rock 9.
Y'all could talk about the Arkansas Department of Education's decision to remove accreditation from the AP African American Studies class.
You want us to pillory the governor, do you?
Did you talk about it?
Oh, yes. Well, as you can see, looking at the record of late, Arkansas is not alone in doing those sorts of things. It seems to be there's a movement afoot around the country to restrict not only AP courses in African American studies, but almost any other thing that you might think of that might lead to students developing a more thorough understanding of what's truly going on around them. Is tantamount to, well, I was going to say burning books, but they're doing that too. So they're burning books, they're interrupting coursework, they're proposing a new narrative, a fictional narrative that will be used instead of the whole truth that could be used in curricula. I don't understand it, honestly. So I suppose rather than respond to that, I'd have to say, what on earth is happening? And what will the public think in general? Because it's a devastating issue that impacts all of us. In 1925, W.B. Du Bois is famous for having said, either America will destroy ignorance, or ignorance will destroy America. It seems like ignorance has a head start, fueled by the current governor in Arkansas. Does that mean she's a proponent of ignorance? Rhetorical, you don't have to answer. But we have to consider that as a possibility. Thank you.
What are some, I know you guys got to meet with the high school students this morning. What were some things you saw that might give us some reason to be hopeful?
Well, first of all, it was quiet, so they were listening. I've always felt that those that are the young people of today are not getting the credit that is due them. They are a little bit more sophisticated in this era than, say, during our era, and they are aware of what is going on. Most of them are aware of what is going on around them. And I think if they band together with like cause and assess what is going on around them, they will make some good decisions. And we spoke about choices this morning, and I do think that they probably took that to heart. And we hope that they were inspired by some of the stories that they heard today, and that things will come out on the better end. You know, I've said this over the years since the Parkland High School shootings. Those young people warmed my heart then that spoke up. I could vote for any one of those with what they had to say after the shootings that had taken place there. And I think that if these sort of things are spoken and learned about in the classrooms here in Little Rock, Arkansas, that they too will take what is happening around them today and take it to another level and understand that they are being held back to learn about history, learn about all others here in this country, not only African Americans, but Hispanics and Asians, so forth and so on. So it's about all of us learning about each other. And I think today a spark was there for some of them.
Indy Jean, you want to add to that?
Well, James Baldwin has a quote that says, "History is more beautiful and more terrible than we know." And as long as we accept that history has these beautiful points and horrible points, and I heard a speech by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and she said, for every hard situation comes a good lesson. So if we could think about, I'd like to see young people, and I know it's going to happen because it's happened before. They're going to get sick of this stuff, okay? Right. They're going to get sick of being told they don't deserve to know. They're going to get tired of saying they're too young to know. They're going to be tired to have somebody decide whether they should feel guilty or not. And they're going to rise up, and I'm waiting for that, and I'm helping them in every possible way I can, because I talk to, interact, have conversations with many young people, and we are ready to go. We are ready to oppose this craziness.
Elizabeth?
African American history is simply the lived experiences of the people. Central Arkansas has a diverse population, much more diverse than when I was a child. There are people from all over the world who are drawn here by the medical facilities that we have and by the financial facilities that we have. And so their children are in the public schools. And their presence will impact the local people. Children need to be able to understand the traditions of other people and have other people understand their traditions in order to have a unity in the community. Suppressing knowledge does not serve us well. It does not serve us well. Do you want to have people who are convinced about myth-making, or a population that is able to understand reality? I'd rather have a population that is able and willing to understand who they are and where they are, and not be subject to myth-making. Myth-making does not serve us well.
Terry, you want to address it?
Oh, no.
Okay, all right. Next question.
My name is Josh Snyder. I'm a reporter for Democrats. And thank you all for taking the time to speak with us right now. I have, some questions about your discussion with the students earlier, but while we're talking about this, I just want to ask, one of the things that the state has said several times is we're still supporting and offering African-American history, even if we're not offering AP African-American studies. How are those different to you, and why does that matter to those?
I'd like to address another part of your question, and that is that you said the state is doing something. That doesn't mean the state is a separate entity from those who live in and vote in this state. Ostensibly, we have what is called a representative government, that our elected officials serve because we elect to put them there. And they are hopefully giving voice to what we think and feel. So I think part of the answer to that question is, what are the people of Arkansas saying, and to whom are they speaking? Are they really in support of what this one person is leading, i.e. the current governor? Or are they at a point where they are saying, perhaps we need a new leader? Let the press show this in large font.
So I guess perhaps to rephrase, the State Department of Education, specifically Secretary Rita, has said this several times. What is your belief in terms of?
Let's hypothetically, if I, Terry Roberts, were still a citizen of this state, I would request an audience with that person and his ilk and others of his cohort to have them explain in some great detail what is meant by that, because I don't know.
Well, the other thing is we're still looking at individual actions, whether they be local politicians. We have to look at the institutional part of this, because 44 states are doing things such as what's happening in Arkansas. And I think it has a chilling effect on education. It has a chilling effect on learning. It has a chilling effect on thinking. So we have to really look at a bigger picture than Arkansas. We got to look at our nation and ask, what are you doing? How are you disrespecting our young people? Why don't you want them to be educated? So we have a lot of stuff to think about and ask questions about. But we recognize the individual acts, but we need to look at the institutional systemic acts that are happening.
And one thing that I've thought of over the years is, because I have noticed in education, they have taken away certain requirements to graduate. Personally, I think history and civics, especially civics, because I see the lack of that among our representatives, our Congress people. They didn't seem to learn it when they were in high school by their actions, and understand history by their actions because of what they're doing today. And I think that those two, along with the arts and physical activities, should be requirements to finish high school and to go on to the next level. So it's a combination of so many different things, and we don't need the ignorance of to continue. And that will happen if they are not learning. Just an observation of mine over the years.
Do you mind reflecting on then versus now, and is there work still to be done?
Of course. Of course, there's work still to be done.
Well, I had an occasion to talk to a former governor of this state, recent governor, Asa Hutchinson by name. I submitted to him that there are several things that need his attention. And I listed those things, and he laughed and he said, well, you know this is a red state. I said, Governor, the whole world knows Arkansas is listed as a red state. That is not the issue, but you're the governor. You do not have to give in to what you seem to think is the prevailing force, that you can confront that. Now, I knew in saying that it would put him in a spot because that would perhaps lead to his being removed from office at best. But he was unwilling to do that. He is now a presidential candidate. How can I have faith and trust in such a person that they will ever be willing to confront the issues? So that's something that I see not so much different, because I think that sort of thing goes on historically. But at some point, as we see the tide of history rolling, somebody has to stand out there in the flood and say, stop, let's dam this thing up and begin to talk about how we can do it differently.
Can you expand on what you talked to Governor Hutchinson about back in that conversation and what you might say today?
Well, yes, primarily it was about his support for a free and open education where kids were not restricted in learning. Even then, it wasn't a big issue at that point, but it certainly became that. I could see the handwriting on the wall. And the other was about health care. Arkansas is one of few states that have rejected opportunity to provide adequate health care. That is amazing to me. How could they just give up on Medicaid and think that somehow citizens would survive? I talked to him, too, about the need to look at law enforcement, to try and figure out a way to build a law enforcement force in this state that didn't operate on the principles of violence first and maybe conversation later. All that, sorry, a long list of other things as well. But, you know, I think we all know the issues. I don't think anybody's, well, let me rephrase that. I'm being too global here. No, a majority of us are vaguely aware of some of these things. But there are some people who really do know the truth and would like to have an opportunity, if nothing else, to have discussions. Like I felt privileged to have a discussion with Governor Hutchinson, even though he had sort of caved into the redness part of it. I don't understand that, you know. So I am, in this year 2023, as bewildered as I was in 1957.
Fear-mongering works for some political groups, but the gains are short-term.
No, here's another thing that's apropos, not your question, but one of the things I've thought about and why I'm so adamant about education is that not very many citizens in this country have ever really read the history of the country. I mean, they talk about it as if they knew something, but when you talk to them, you really find out they haven't read very much. But I think it might be important to impose upon them the necessity to know what's been going on. You know, as a young kid, I had these questions, and people were reluctant to answer me. Black people would respond by saying, boy, don't bring that stuff up. You want to get us all killed? And that was a whole nother dimension that I hadn't even thought about. It's dangerous to talk about things. I didn't give up, though. I didn't talk to people about it, but I did my own research. I was shocked to find out that the information was readily available. It's written down. And even though I was barred from the public library in this state, I found other libraries and other places where I could find the information. You can get it if you really want it. It's not a pretty story. Unfortunately, we have managed to build a narrative that is fictional, and we sell that. We sell that with enthusiasm. But it doesn't work if you're willing to learn. And I think if we had a learned population, we would quickly begin to change that narrative. And new beings entered into the universe would not have to be infected with that disease.
Yeah, I think Learning is liberation. And I challenge everyone to liberate yourself. Let it go. Have fun. This is good. We can roll on this. Liberation is our goal for each of us. So that's how I see it.
So you talked about hopefulness for young people. I agree. I think that they haven't figured out. What do you think that adults should be doing? What do you have any action items for adults who might be concerned about us going backwards?
Get out of the way. Okay. Yes, because that is part of the problem. These young people have access to information, unbelievable information. Never before have we been able to be so well informed. And because I interact with young people a lot, they say, oh, my parents, oh, my relatives. Okay, that's what they tell. That's what they tell me. So maybe get out of their way. They know more than their parents do because they have different experiences. You know, immigration law changed after at the end of the civil rights movement. So a lot of things changed for them that didn't change for the older people. So they know more mostly than their parents about life, about relationships in terms of cross-cultural, intercultural. So actually we should stay out of their way because who's making the laws? Do you see any kids making all these draconian laws? You know who's making them. Look at them. Older than me, if that's possible. I say, if you're older than me, you shouldn't be making the rules, okay? Get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Elizabeth, I think you wanted to add something?
She's old.
She's not, almost. 2 weeks.
Sarah's reminded me that I'm older.
She's younger, but
I am hopeful. I asked a former president, was he hopeful about change, and he said no. But I'm hopeful because I realize that America's trajectory toward equality has been an uneven path, and that we have gone back and forth. So I know that there can be change in the future. I may not be around when it happens, but I look forward to the possibility of positive change. Because that has been the American way. We've had, after Reconstruction, we almost had a return to slavery in the tenant farming system, the sharecropper system, and the system where people were convicted of crimes that they could not commit and sentenced to hard labor. So, you know, America has gone back and forth.
Okay. One last question, and then I got to let them get some rest before the evening activities. Anybody else? Go ahead.
If there's nobody else. Of course, you spoke with students not too long ago today. I think we kind of addressed a little bit of it, but what did they ask you about if they had a chance to ask you questions, and what hopes did they express and what fears did they express? I apologize, that's a triple bill.
Well, no, that's good, that's good. But the students were under some restriction. They had prepared questions, which I think was an obligation imposed upon them. We didn't have an open debate, if you will, and so we just gave standard answers. But I think afterwards, we did talk to some of those students. I think 6 students had been selected to pose questions, or 5. But they were interested in the whole of what we had to say and to think about, and they wanted time to sit and really delve into it. And I think we need to give them that opportunity. Someone asked me once, in terms of being at Central, what would you have added to that experience if you could? I said, well, I would have demanded that at the end of any given school day, the 9 of us and the kids who were intent on beating us up during that day would sit down together at a table. We'd have a conversation, and then we would listen to them explain why they had chosen to beat us up, and then we would be able to talk to them about how we had responded to that and what we could possibly do together to make sure that it didn't continue to happen. We didn't have those conversations. And I don't know if the administration would have been amenable to that in any case, but it's just one of the things that I see. That's in microcosm, but in the larger picture in this country, if we were to truly have an open discussion, much like what occurred in South Africa at the supposed end of apartheid, when people came together under the Truth and Reconciliation Committee action to talk about, these are the things you did to me when you were in charge and in control. Tell me why and how you did that, and then listen to me in terms of how I reacted to that. And can we come to some common ground? Can we get that out of the way? You know, I don't think anything like that would work in this country because we're not that kind of people. We don't have those kind of mindsets. We are worshiping at the altar of capitalism, so most of our energy goes into that in so many different ways. We are almost, I don't know what the word is for us, but if advertisers say we need it, we buy it. See, that's how deeply we're involved in this capitalistic enterprise. We need to move far beyond that. We need to talk about who we are, what do we want as a group of Americans? What is it we really want? And I think you find such a variation of answers to that. We need to put them all in a pot and begin to stir them around and come up with something that everybody can agree upon. Is that possible? Total agreement? No. But I think we could get close if we tried. I think it's much better than selling us all guns and saying you better watch out because your neighbor wants to get what you already have, et cetera. But I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like in print. But what I hope you would write is that there's great concern about the current state of affairs, and we really need some sort of format to get beyond it.
Here, here, Dr. Roberts.
Okay, let's give them another round of applause. I want to thank the media for coming out, and y'all have a good day.
Thank you.